The 1991 MOBIL Super League draws to its exciting conclusion today with Sydney to play Adelaide in the final. Hello, Steve Rebillard for ABC Sport, and what better place than the Palace in Canberra to decide the Prime Minister's Cup? Well, in reaching the final, Sydney and Adelaide had to play their very best netball to defeat the Institute of Sport and Melbourne in the semis. And Adelaide in particular showed with their emphatic dumping of Melbourne that they're quite capable of upsetting the favourite Sydney. A tough one to tip. Here's Anne.
Yes, Steve, well, all teams have displayed fluctuating form to date in the Premier pre-season competition, but all that means nothing now, only this match counting. Adelaide were last year's bridesmaids in the Super League final, so they'll be keen this time round to get their fingerprints on the Prime Minister's Cup. For that to happen, they'll need to put in another dazzling defensive effort, equal to the one that cut Melbourne's run short of the final. And also in goals, Nichol will again need to be the key for them. Sydney will need to shut down the fast-running game of Adelaide, and to do that they'll need close marking and pressure over the ball. In attack, Sydney need to be tough and committed, and the role of dictating and controlling play will fall to their captain, Sue Kenny. I'd probably be far wiser to sit on the fence and not to predict a winner, but I'm going to go with Sydney to be receiving the Prime Minister's Cup at the end of the game.
Sydney in their semi finally got some consistency out of their shooters, and they'll certainly need that again from W.A.I.S and Cusack. 21-year-old gym instructor Carissa Dalwood from Manly and Randwick's 23-year-old goal defence Sharon Finnan were both decisive in the win over the Institute. For Adelaide, Julie Nichol and Sarah Angove complemented each other beautifully to outthink and outshoot Melbourne last week, and another big game from captain and centre Karen Schultz will allow them the opportunity to do likewise today. 19-year-old Sarah Sutter, an Institute scholarship holder from last year, is a defender with enormous promise. Sydney have 4 current Australian players, Adelaide have none. And our umpires for the final of the Super League are Chris Burton and Maureen Boyle from the International Pool of Umpires. Ready for a start then in the final. Adelaide in the sky blue to run left to right. Sydney in the black skirts. And a big crowd on hand at the Palace to watch the final game of the Super League. And settling down early will count for plenty.
Advantage obstruction, centre.
Nice opening manoeuvre from Angove, dropped the ball back to Schultz, but they don't convert.
So Devry for Sydney, Dalwood, Lisa Wilson, strong ball into W.A.I.S who did well to control it. Kenny, not long back from injury. Cusack.
Hesitant start from both goal ends, and interesting, Steve, that defending title holders Melbourne absent from this year's Super League final. The bridesmaids Adelaide here. Sydney placed 3rd last year, but the new format, the Super League, this year allows the playoff series.
Finnan. Long ball in for Kenny. And Cusack, tended by Harvey. This time, and Sydney first on the board. A minute of play.
Strong aggressive start from Sydney, the long ball from Finnan to Kenny. She feeds it back to the top to Cusack.
This time it's W.A.I.S popping in the second shot. So Sydney by 2. Washington, Angove. Devry with Nichol. Finnan with Angove, and Angove makes one count. Carissa Dalwood for Sydney with the centre pass. Kenny quickly into W.A.I.S. Cusack.
Contact, wing. Contact off the ball, just.
And Sarah Sutter pushed out of play after contacting, and they're both out now. 3-1 Sydney. Kenny. Carissa Dalwood. And W.A.I.S. The pass was great. The finish is there. 4-1 Sydney. Bright start.
And Kenny to Dalwood. Great work from Dalwood in setting W.A.I.S up under the post.
Sydney immediately back into attack. Harvey the defender. Cusack the goal. 5-1. Washington. Neal. Julie Nicholl's been kept out of it so far.
The attack very congested for Adelaide. You'll notice Sydney congesting the top of the circle with Dalwood and Wilson doing a lot to protect their circle defenders.
Schultz bounces one in for Angove.
Contact.
And a heavy contact between Sharon Finn and Sarah Angove.
Chris Burton stating the obvious.
Nicholl gets her first goal. Washington, Schultz, Angove.
Good drive from Schultz to find top position in the circle.
Well, Nicholl's not going to have an easy day, I don't think. Keely Devry is very determined to shut down the gun shooter.
In their previous encounters, Devry's done a very effective job on Nicholl, taking front position and really working her hard. And already we see the pressure of Devry in sewing Nicholl out of those couple of options.
Play. Contact, centre, push. No, this way. You're pushing with your body. Goal defender. Contact. Contact!
5 minutes gone. 5-3 Sydney up. Just looking at the heights of Devry and Nicholl, both 183 centimetres or 6 feet in the old language. So they're well matched. Nicholl with that familiar quick shooting style, not effective that time.
The legacy from basketball, dual Olympic international.
Angove this time. So after starting a little slowly, Adelaide have got the difference back to 1. Cusack.
Contacting keeper, pass or shot, front of the post.
So Sutter's out of play. W.A.I.S with the ball and with the goal.
Been impressed with the opening from W.A.I.S. She hasn't hit a strap to date, but strong so far.
Contact, wing defender, you're causing.
Lisa Wilson causing the contact in the view of Chris Burton. Nikki Washington. So Angove. And Devry goes down. Up again quickly. But can't stop the goal. Dalwood, Kenny, and straight to Harvey.
Well, she expected the drop from W.A.I.S. The space was there.
Washington, can Adelaide convert this turnover? Schultz bouncing into Nicholl.
Keeper, contact, advantage.
And Devry looking at the distance, but it was contact on the ball she was called for.
It's advantage, obstruction.
Washington to Schultz.
This is a furious game in both pace and the level of contesting between the bodies. Won't be able to be sustained.
That's obstruction, it's across her eyes.
Chris Burton indicating the defence should be of the ball, not the face.
Adelaide hit the lead for the first time. Dalwood. Harvey too closely marking Cusack for the pass to come into her. W.A.I.S this time. 7 apiece. 6.5 minutes left, first quarter. Washington. Schultz and Dalwood contesting. Sydney's ball.
Neither lacking pace, but certainly very quick speed from Schultz on the short work, and a strength from Dalwood will be a great match.
Contact, goal attack.
Angove out of play. Kenny. W.A.I.S. Oh, Harvey read it well. She was always going the same way as Cusack. Kenny.
Contact wing.
A lot of elevation in the shot, and it's effective from Cusack, 8-7.
4 straight from Cusack.
Kenny. And Washington is offside.
Good opening from the Sydney shooters, 100% for Katrina W.A.I.S and only 1 miss for Cusack.
And a low angle bounce pass. Very quick hands has Kenny. Dalwood. They're working well, W.A.I.S and Cusack. Sydney by 2. Schultz for Adelaide. Nichol gets away from Devry this time.
And a nice combination. First the roll, then the break back. Watch the circle. Be a nice combination from Nichol, who first puts the roll on, then drops into space.
Wing attack. Centre third.
Lisa Wilson for Sydney. Cusack came forward with the lead. Now W.A.I.S.
5 straight. And the sprint from the centre from Karen Schultz, pushing an urgency into the Adelaide attack.
Angove only hit the chain.
Subtraction, goal attack.
Now Angove's finds some space. Washington and Nichol.
Nice move from Adelaide. Adelaide driving an attack towards a circle. You'll see Nichol take up the hold and roll backwards towards the feed from Washington.
W.A.I.S for Kenny. Bumped by Neil, says Maureen Boyle.
Contact keeper in front of the post, in front of the post.
Time running out in this first quarter.
Contact. Pass or shot.
Schultz. Washington.
Wing obstruction. It's advantage obstruction, advantage contact.
Angove. Time called, end of an exhilarating first quarter in the final. Sydney began brightly, Adelaide came back, and at the end of the first 15 minutes, Sydney lead 12-10. Sydney with the centre pass to get the second quarter underway and immediately intercepted by Sutter. Some good shooting stats in the first quarter, and
well, particularly impressive from Katrina W.A.I.S for Sydney, 100%, 6 from 6. Also Nikki Cusack, 6 from 8, sitting on 75%. For Adelaide, Nichol, 71% with 5 from 7, and Angove, 5 from 8.
Dalwood, Cusack, Kenny. Kenny trying to be a little too clever. Sutter with the throw in for Adelaide. So both sides have turned it over this opening minute. Washington. Angove into Nichol. Left on her own by Devry. The difference is 1. A keen Adelaide bench there.
Advantage obstruction, goal attack.
Finnan. Oh, no. Oh, falls for W.A.I.S. Lucky.
And a Sutter feed to W.A.I.S.
Yes.
It's advantage goal.
Well, Sydney can count themselves fortunate there. Kenny for Cusack.
Cusack fakes the pass to W.A.I.S to give herself some room for the shot, and then utilises the attempt.
Sydney by 3. Washington. Angove.
Obstruction outside, pass.
Lisa Wilson causing the obstruction. Nichol now.
Sydney.
That first quarter pace is still on. Finnan to Kenny.
Obstruction, goal attack.
Sarah Angove called out of play.
These two teams will be playing this final 1 quarter at a time. The last quarter gone, now they have 15 minutes to put it out.
Sydney steadying. Washington. Neal. And Wilson did enough.
Sharon Finnan quite content to leave Sarah Sutter out in the goal third. She's just hugging the circle with Devry blocking up the space, concentrating on Narkle.
Effective pass from Angove to Narkle that time. Exactly 4 minutes gone in the second quarter. Sydney lead by 2, as they did at quarter time. Cusack.
Contax.
Adelaide really do try to break quickly from these centre passes. It's all slowed down at the top of the circle now.
Hell ball, Sydney.
Great pressure from the 4 Sydney defenders. Pressure over the ball from Wilson and Dalwood. Strong space defence from Devry and Finnan.
W.A.I.S. Dalwood.
Cusack caught under the post, trying to dodge, but caught by Harvey. She takes a throw in.
Sue Kenny. W.A.I.S did well to hold a position.
Sydney.
Sydney by 4. Adelaide trailed by 4 early in the first quarter. Came back to take the lead. So they're a side that's used to the to and fro of top-class netball.
The pressure from Kenny sitting hard up on the ball from 3 feet, forces a throw in.
Contact, goal attack.
It's Schultz for Adelaide. Washington. And Nykel. Oh, well read, Devry. Away comes Sydney. Lovely running fast break.
Advantage offside.
Delightful netball. Doesn't come much better than that. Or batted on by Dalwood, but Cusack could only dish it off for an Adelaide player.
Quick hands from Angove.
Contact, pass or shot.
Nykel held a position to get the contact. And now the shot. Dalwood for Sydney. Cusack. Kenny.
Contact, wing.
Cusack drops back, but Harvey's too good.
Quite likes to have a run, doesn't she, Steve?
Yes, she was running alongside Maureen Boyle there. That was the laughter you might have heard. Maureen and Harvey nearly collided, but it's an Adelaide goal. Difference is 3.
And as quickly as they were out of it, Adelaide back in the game.
Washington.
Advantage obstruction centre.
Angove. I'll happily let her shoot from there, and she misses everything.
Play. Contact, wing attack.
Finnan. Wilson.
Contact, wing defender.
Vicky Neal this time contacting. Finnan comes up to the transverse line. Kenny. Cusack. She's a long way from goal.
Great work. It was the right time to attack the post. She took on the responsibility. A wonderful shot.
It's shooting like that Adelaide are missing. Nykel's not happy a long way from goal. Cusack will land some of those.
Well, we've discussed the Sydney shooters' mixed form
Goal attack.
in terms of accuracy across this series, but certainly putting out the goods when it counts in this final.
Contacting goal shooter.
Only one miss apiece in this quarter, and certainly long-range pressure shots from both shooters.
Devry. Finnan.
Obstruction, goal third. Goal third. It's all right.
Well, Finnan concentrating too much to hear what the umpire was saying. Pass had to be taken in the goal third. W.A.I.S.
Obstruction.
Harvey too close.
Obstruction, both players out. Contact.
Sydney on the charge. W.A.I.S cross corner to Dalwood. She feeds W.A.I.S.
Devery from the back. Sydney by 5.
Contact, win.
Just under 5 minutes left till half-time. Sue Kenny. And Adelaide quickest to pounce on the bouncing ball. Schultz. Angove. Fortunate for Washington that she found Angove. Dalwood, but Harvey was all over Kenny.
And the challenge from behind, forcing a contact on Kenny's hand.
W.A.I.S. And again, quick hands from Dalwood. Set up Cusack.
The vision great from the Sydney feeders as they make the moves to the corners. They can see their shooters set up, so they flick on pass all that's needed.
W.A.I.S. That's better.
Contact!
Bob Hawke, Prime Minister here, and of course it's the Prime Minister's Cup for which these teams are playing. Oh,
well kept
how did
in
Cusack
by
keep
Cusack.
it in? And that desperation rewarded by her fellow shooter.
And a magical effort from Cusack, who stretches out to keep this pass in play, pushes it back into the backup of Dalwood, finally onto W.A.I.S.
Cusack.
I thought Cusack perhaps a little under her form through this series, possibly the disappointment of missing out on Australian selection for the World Championships, but coming through in the finals in great form. Wonderful effort from both W.A.I.S and Cusack in this final.
And another one for Sydney. They lead by 7. 23-16, it's the biggest margin of the match. Devery for Sydney to Finnan. Wilson. Kenny could let it go for W.A.I.S. Good backup. Cusack drops back. Sydney taking control late in this second quarter. Angove. And that is half-time. A strong second quarter it was from Sydney to go to the break leading 24-16. Adelaide captain Karen Schultz to get us underway in the second half, and Adelaide outscored 12-6 in the second quarter end.
Yes, not a happy quarter for Adelaide. Julian Arkle putting up 5 from 8, but Angove only seeing the ball in the goal circle twice. She put up one of those to sit on a 50% for the quarter. Sydney, though, is another story. 6 from 7 for Katrina W.A.I.S and 6 from 8 for Nicole Cusack.
A big task ahead for Adelaide. They've shown in the past they can match it with the best. They've got to do more than match it. They've got to pull them back. Sydney equally have shown that they're capable of going to sleep for dangerous periods. Absolutely caned by Melbourne in one of the last qualifying games. So I'm sure the message from Carol Sykes at half-time would have been to maintain the intensity.
Certainly, but it's a very different Sydney we're seeing tonight, far more complete than we've seen in other matches. They're strong, they're committed. I don't think they'll have that lapse, but certainly concentration would be the message for the third quarter.
Nice break into the circle from Cusack, but shot not there. Washington. Nyckel, well, they both went the same way. Nyckel came up with it, not with a shot.
She originally set up the screen and then decided, no, I'll bail out of here, I want it myself. Only caused the congestion.
Sydney quickly up to the circle. Kenny. And Neil was falling all over it. Cusack bounces into W.A.I.S fortuitously. 26-17. Sue Kenny. Cusack.
Possession.
Possession will go to Schultz.
And soft hands from WA gives Schultz the possession opportunity.
Michael making a lead this time out of the circle. And crunching into the post was Angove. Keely Devery can't believe she's called for the contact. Sydney still leading by 8 early in this third quarter.
Contact, goal defender.
And Harvey, the face tells it all.
Well, the defenders have been eyes to heaven in disbelief on 2 calls this quarter.
They won't say anything.
Netball is traditionally disciplined not to react.
Verbally, anyway.
Oh, I've never heard of assault charges.
Kenny, Dalwood, Cusack breaks away from Sutter and Harvey to score that goal. Sydney by 10. It's looking ominous. And if Adelaide were hoping Sydney would have a quiet start to the third quarter, they've been disappointed. Michael, she's just out of touch today.
I think the pressure from Devery really forcing her wide. She's had few opportunities. The one she's had have been a long way from the circle.
Well, that's one of the rare long ones that she's dropped. She may have come to terms with the fact that that's where she's going to have to shoot from. Dalwood, great return ball to Cusack.
Great combination from Sydney. Cusack pushes it across and Dalwood double teams again to Cusack.
Obstruction wing. It's offside.
Dalwood. Her hands, but offside. Angove.
Play advantage, offside wing.
Michael. It's for her range. Adelaide bench concerned, but they're not out of it. Oh, WA.I.S, great dash. No finish.
Well, the class of Sydney really coming through in that passage, and W.A.I.S owed it to a teammate, Kenny, to convert that shot, finish the play.
Dalwood got up well.
Contact centre.
She's called for the contact on Schultz, her opposite number.
Contact centre.
Oh, no, it's the other way. Perhaps it was the second time. Kenny. Oh, Harvey was close to an intercept.
And she read it. She never really turned the speed on to get to it, though. Was half committed.
Cusack can shoot. Sydney still lead by 10. Hard to nominate a weakness in this Sydney team tonight, Anne.
No, look, it's a very strong unit. I mean, we've been disappointed in other matches in this series, but they're paying it back now for spectators. Just a brilliant display, classy effort from Sydney.
Michael gets one for Adelaide. W.A.I.S, oh, great hands. Too fast.
Well, they've saved it all for the final.
Step.
So, Angove called for the step. Wilson. Cusack. Another fast break from W.A.I.S. And whereas Sutter last week was able to dominate Harris and James from Melbourne, she's not having the same pleasure today.
I think you can put the difference down to Sue Kenny. She's really opening the attack, allowing for very fluent play, confident moves from the Sydney shooters.
Sydney by 12, Adelaide in a big hole.
Got him.
More desperation from Wilson. And Adelaide simply not being allowed to string the passes together. Schultz from the side. Angove to Washington. And Michael under pressure gives the ball away.
Base. Play.
Dalwood makes herself available. Finnan to Kenny. and back. Cusack.
Advantage obstruction offside.
Harvey gets a rebound.
Advantage contact.
And they must convert this.
Play on advantage, forcing, shooter.
Play on is the call. Angove to Washington. Foot on the line.
Play.
Angove must shoot.
Sydney.
Sydney by 11, halfway through this quarter.
Advantage obstruction, wing defense.
Again, fast hands from W.A.I.S.
W.A.I.S having a tremendous game for Sydney.
And this is very encouraging for Joyce Brown with the Worlds almost upon us.
Fast hands, the feature here from Katrina W.A.I.S, who turns the ball onto Dalwood. She finds Cusack.
With Sydney having 4 Australian players, it's important that this close to the world titles that they're all playing well, and they certainly are in this final. Wilson.
Contact, wing attack.
Heavy bump with Washington, absolutely accidental.
Put your body in and caused it.
Well, Chris Burton can disagree, but there's no malice in it, let's put it that way. W.A.I.S strong again. And some frustration apparent on the faces of the Adelaide players as the class of Sydney starts to tell. On the faces of the Adelaide players as the class of Sydney starts to tell. Oh, again. Great, quick and sure hands from Dalwood. Once or twice, though, the finish hasn't been there from W.A.I.S when it should have been. They really could have put Adelaide away by now if they'd taken all their chances.
Well, the Sydney defence is just awesome in this third. Lisa Wilson now joining Devry and Finnan in grabbing every opportunity she can to cause the turnover.
It's obstruction.
Schultz, Washington, Angove.
The movement's really broken down for the Adelaide shooters.
Contact, wing attack.
And Washington called for the contact. So Sydney again, come away. Finnan, Kenny, Dalwood. The speed.
Short. Pass or shot.
Sydney just too good.
And the Sydney bench starting to sit back and enjoy this spectacle.
They may even take the luxury of resting Kenny in the last quarter, who still not 100% with that shoulder, perhaps.
Sydney!
36-23, under 5 minutes left third quarter. Sydney turning on an exhibition of netball that really is delighting this crowd here in Canberra. AIS, of course, beaten in the semis, so they don't really have a crowd favourite in these two finalists, but they can certainly sit back and enjoy the class netball Sydney are producing. Adelaide a little stunned in this third quarter. Washington.
And Nyquil ventures out of the circle, a rare trip for her.
Should do it more often if that's the end result. Michael. Schultz.
Contact, wing defender.
Wilson the contact. Schultz.
Play it on.
Good desperation from Angove to drag it back in. And
Devry has received one in the face in that interchange. She's down.
see how this occurred.
Angove swings the ball to gain closer position, and Devry, in trying to get to that top ball, top of the circle, collects a hand in the face. Straight into the eye by the looks of it.
Australian captain, Michelle Filkey, explaining the finer points to Bob Hawke. Sue Kenny also receiving a little bit of treatment from Leanne McKelson-Taylor, the Sydney physio. But everything's set now for a resumption.
Sydney centre.
Okay. Sydney to resume with the centre pass. Everybody fit again. Dalwood to Kenny. W.A.I.S. The hands are too quick, the movement too short. Sydney 37, Adelaide 25.
Sutter and Harvey virtually ineffectual to stop this running machine that Sydney's created. Two Sydney shooters very confident and strong in their moves.
Cusack. 13 goals the lead. And could be more in a moment. Cusack.
Sydney. Circle.
Vicky Neal hounding Sue Kenny on the edge of the circle.
Play.
Movement breaking down.
Contact.
Now they're operational.
39-25.
And Adelaide will have to get the movement starting again in their circle, which they have now that Nikel's taking the lead. But until then, both very static, the two shooters, body positioning, but no movement onto the ball.
Michael, see, even from that range, when she's almost 100% previous games, confidence just not there today. This time.
Sydney.
Kenny for Sydney. W.A.I.S on a lead out of the circle. Cusack. Harvey with a simple rebound. It's the 1-2. Schultz. Well, Nikel just had to give it straight to Dalwood as she lost control of the ball. Dalwood.
And this passage culminating in a great pass from Dalwood, putting Cusack on stretch, well placed.
Vicky Neal for Adelaide, Washington. And again it falls to Sydney. Adelaide are coughing up passes that in previous games they've swallowed.
Pass or shot?
And Harvey called for the contact. Nothing going right for them.
Sydney.
41-26, lead of 15. Adelaide bench must be terribly disappointed with the way the last two quarters have gone.
Sideline. Play.
W.A.I.S. It's virtually been 2 for 1 since quarter time, with Sydney strolling away with it. Schultz to Harvey. Washington. Three-quarter time, and Sydney with 15 minutes to wrap it up. Adelaide with 15 minutes to try and get some respectability into the score, but Sydney 42, Adelaide 26. Sydney in control and with the first centre pass of the final quarter. Looking for some answers. Adelaide have made a couple of changes. Karen Schultz has moved to wing attack, replacing Nikki Washington, who's off now. Lee Smith, the new player, on at centre. And Sydney continuing to heavily outscore Adelaide Ann in that quarter.
Yes, they won the last quarter by 8, and the shooting finishing it off well for them. Cusack putting up 7 from 11. Katrina W.A.I.S 11 from 13, so the stats well up for Sydney. Adelaide doing quite well with the chances they've had. 100% from Angove, only 66% for Michael, but the basic thing for Adelaide is they need more ball.
Sydney have quickly added another 2. 44-26.
Nothing disrupting their format.
So perhaps Adelaide left their best stuff on the court last week against Melbourne. Adelaide's ball off Keely Debry's hands.
Play.
Sarah Angove. Even the simple things look difficult for Adelaide at the moment. Schultz. Sorry, Smith. That's the change that's been made. Smith is at centre. That's Schultz now, wing attack.
Schultz working closer to the circle to take over the feeding role to the shooters, try and give them more access to the net ball.
Michael.
I think at this stage it'd take a blackout to try and stop Sydney's effort. Adelaide with it all uphill.
Sarah Sutter.
Top of the circle.
Told just where to take it. Harvey.
Contact, wing attack.
It's unusual to see Harvey. Oh, and she's injured her right knee. I don't like the look of that.
Time.
I was going to say it's unusual to see her so quiet. That'd really cap off a miserable day.
I have this habit of right working.
Umpire Maureen Boyle, very experienced international umpire. Blows time on again.
Contact, wing defender.
With Kathy Harvey right to continue. Sydney continuing the onslaught. W.A.I.S, not this time. Strong rebound from Sutter. Smith, Harvey. Schultz and Smith, quite similar looking.
We've seen the class of Sydney's imports. They've made good use of the import rule by drawing in 4 players from outside the ranks of their club side Randwick. Not just the use of the imports, so a very good, strong team combination tonight, really working as a unit.
.12 minutes to go in the Super League final. Sydney 45, Adelaide 28. Cusack from the back for Sydney.
It's offside. Sydney, free pass. Yes.
A quick 1-2 with Dalwood. W.A.I.S gets the rebound.
Rebounding's been very strong all night from W.A.I.S.
Best of the competition, I think.
It's advantage obstruction.
Good position from Dalwood, working for that cut to find the top of the circle.
Play advantage contact.
Sutter lifting her game a little in this last quarter. Really needed to be done earlier, though. Smith to Schultz. And still Debry giving Michael no peace.
Adelaide in the circle.
Offside ruling bringing a free pass.
Contact centre.
So no attempt at goal can be taken from that.
Advantage contact, goal defence.
Sarah Angove to shoot. 46-29.
And 5 minutes into the final quarter, that's the first attempt at goal for Sarah Angove.
Michael, on a rare occasion, breaks away from Debry. Balls from her teammates. 16 is the difference.
And to coin a well-used phrase, Sydney have been simply stunning tonight, just too good in all departments. Cusack rubbing salt into the wound with a courageous power to W.A.I.S.
Schultz.
Short pass.
I mean, the difference we have at both ends of the court, Adelaide frustrated, determined to get any possession opportunity they can in the circle, most of it around the edge. Sydney simply running through Adelaide and their opportunities under the post because of great teamwork.
And can a lot of the Sydney improvement end just be put down to the presence of Sue Kenny?
I think she's had an overwhelming influence since she entered the competition in the playoff series. She really dominates the attack. She obviously injects confidence in the shooters who have just played completely different games in these last couple of matches.
WA.I.S at the post. It's the Sydney shooters finding themselves in positions which they rarely had in some other games, but Kenny setting them up well. Oh, what an intercept from Wilson. Leading well.
It's advantage obstruction.
Kenny, in some ways, a little like Harvey, seems to have all the time in the world, except that Harvey's on the losing side today.
On a hand.
The world, except that Harvey's on the losing side today.
On a hand. It's obstruction, second jump.
48-30.
We talk about Kenny as being one of the great forces for Sydney, but to the other end of the court, Devry simply brilliant in shutting Eichel out of the game. That really has done the damage on Adelaide, broken down their attacking play.
Well, the games that Adelaide have won have been games in which Eichel has really fired. And she hasn't been allowed to today. But every Sydney player is lifted. Sydney, 8 minutes away from grabbing the Prime Minister's Cup. Great pass to Eichel from Harvey. Must have been 25 metres.
It's a difficult task to pick best on court. Of course, the player of the series coming from the playoff matches, not just from the final. But still a very difficult task to single someone out of Sydney.
Sorry, girls. Play it on.
A couple of players breaking, but the advantage played. Sydney have hit 50. They lead by 19. Sydney bench not showing it, but inside they must be very happy. Smith. Dalwood contesting right down to the last.
Steve, many expected arch rivals Sydney and Melbourne to be playing off for the Prime Minister's Cup. You wonder in retrospect whether there would have been a better contest. Adelaide's certainly putting out far better things against Melbourne than they are tonight against Sydney.
Pushing off goal shooter. Sydney penalty.
Yes, but in that semi-final, it has to be said, Adelaide did the job on Melbourne and certainly deserved to reach the final, but they've struck Sydney in hot form.
Possession, wing attack.
Sue Kenny given the ball. Calm as you please, it's off to Cusack and straight in. Lee Smith for Adelaide. Schultz. Great long ball into Eichel.
Short.
The second time they've caught the Sydney defenders relaxing. And Adelaide experimenting with the high ball. Why waste time? They find Eichel.
Contact.
5.5 minutes left in the final. Sydney must know it's theirs. Harvey.
Contact of the ball.
Smith. Meant for Eichel.
Adelaide.
And that dribbled over the line off Devry's hands. So Angove to take it for Adelaide. Finnan gets the bounce. Kenny, Wag, Cusack, Just been too quick for Harvey tonight. And what a shame for Adelaide that the biggest margin of the whole series is going to turn out to be in the final. It looks a little embarrassing for them, and really through the series, and they've played better than this.
Yes, they have, but I think they've hit a Sydney team that's really hit the strap when it counted, and that was in the final, showing their experience and the calibre of the Sydney squad. Several internationals, a very classy team, and just a brilliant display tonight.
Nycall. Small compensation, scoring one of the last goals of the game. Smith. Timekeeper's up on her feet. Time for one more, maybe. No, there won't be. That is time. And the Prime Minister's Cup, the Super League for 1991, goes to Sydney in the most emphatic style, 59-36.
With me is Sue Kenny, captain of the Sydney Pulsars, the 1991 Super League champions. Well, Susie, that was an immaculate display from Sydney. You certainly saved your best to last.
Yes, we certainly did, Anne. It was a great game. I think everyone really felt